Good evening, everyone. We apologize for the delay. Thank you for your patience. Welcome to the Ryerson Image Centre. My name is Zanele Muholi, and I'm the exhibitions curator here at the RIC. It is my great pleasure and privilege to be introducing tonight's guest speaker, Zanele Muholi. Reopening tomorrow in our University Gallery, Zanele's exhibition, Faces and Phases, aims to address the representation of Black, lesbian, and queer identity, focusing largely on post-apartheid South Africa. This ongoing series of large black and white photographs includes more than 240 portraits, of which 36 are exhibited here to coincide with the celebration of World Pride 2014 in Toronto. As a social and political activist for the rights of LGBTI people in South Africa, Muholi endeavours to radically change the conventional perception of lesbian and transgender communities who epidemically suffer from continuous attacks. Working from and for her own community, she creates strong, beautiful, and positive images of empowered individuals. The poetic strength of her work lies in the contrast between the brutality of the social and political situation and the artist's deliberate choice of formal distanciation. Muholi's refusal to use pathos and sensationalism allows for posterity and critical thinking. The repetitive use of the photographic procedure unexpectedly reinforces the unique identities of the individuals, revealing the diversity of this community. Born in Umlazi, Durban, South Africa in 1972, Zanele Muholi lives and works in Johannesburg. She completed an advanced photographic course at the Market Photo Workshop in Newtown, and in 2009, she received a Master of Fine Arts in Documentary Media from the Ryerson School of Image Arts. Zanele, it's a great honor to have you back here at Ryerson. Congratulations on all your achievements. Please join me in welcoming Zanele.
Ryan, are we okay? Sure. Zinia? Cool. Good evening, everyone. And it is really, really, really a great honor for me to be here tonight at Ryerson University, Ryerson Image Centre. For sure, for any young black female photographer who lives in this country, it would have been a privilege for her to showcase here. And I'm speaking because I was one of the two students in a class of 35. That was in 2007 until 2009. And that brought back memories of where we come, or where I come from as a South African lesbian. Before I carry on, I'd like to acknowledge quite a number of few individuals who really, really inspired me in so many ways. And I'm looking at Michelle, who didn't say no when I wanted to document lesbians here in Toronto. I see Lilith, who was really, really supportive. I don't know if Dee is here. You know, when you are far away from home, you always wonder if people are going to, listen to what you have to say. Complex is seated here in front of me, and Complex was one of those individuals that I documented when I lived in Toronto. That was in 2008. And now I'm here 5 years later, but I'm looking at people that I photographed 6 years ago, and it's good to see you alive and in good health, of course. And Abdi, I see you. You still have a lot of work to do because we are not as visible as it seems, especially in Toronto today as the world celebrates World Pride. But I'll go, to those politics. Lali, thank you so much. There are members of GLAD who were my family when I was here. There was D. Smith, who gave me an accommodation when things were super high. I was one of those poor students here at Ryerson, So when I walk on subway, looking for $2 coin was like a big thing because it meant that I could buy Minute Maid or something juice. To my friend and sister Figi Lemazambane, who's been there and she journeyed with me for keeps. Thank you so much. Unfortunately, Sabine, who's my former, that led to my coming to even study here at Ryerson, is not here tonight. Pumzile, Salim, Malika. I have my family here from South Africa. There are some individuals that really, really played a good role into what I'm doing. And Pumi, I remember we met exactly 16 years ago, and you keep on challenging me in so many ways. I'm truly, truly grateful to know a person like you. That's how we do it at home. Before you do anything, kiyabongwa bakithi in Zulu. You know, when I'm excited, I think in my first language in Zulu. So basic Zulu say, give thanks to those who paved the way for you. Katie. Yeah. Katie McCormick, I remember when we had to choose professors to supervise us here. And I thought that she was the coolest person. She was my height. I wasn't intimidated. And she had a cool, soft face. And I remember I was really frustrated when I was here. So I wasn't at school as such because I don't believe much in jargon that is discussed in academia, because I think that the people that we write about, we tend to forget at times. Katie, thank you so much for your guidance. And I know that I was difficult. At some stage, I wanted to quit school. But Katie said, no, you can do it, you know. And I remember when we had Skype talks and she'll speak to someone at her house and I could hear in the background and she'd say, I'm speaking to my student from Africa. Okay, I would think to myself, Africa is the continent. I come from South Africa. But thanks for being my sister, my guidance, and for all that you shared with me. And there was a nice Life magazine that Katie had, which was one of those remarkable magazines. And I took the magazine home. I needed to process it. And she was looking for her magazine. To me, what transpired in my headspace was like, I've seen a lot of images of white lesbians as covers of the magazine. I slept with that magazine for a few days because I told myself that one day I will produce the covers of black lesbians in the magazine. Whether the mainstream likes it or not, I'm in a mission and I'll do it better. The past 5 months, 5 years have been quite a mission. 2007, up to 2009, I was here, spent a lot of time traveling. There wasn't much content that I could reference from Canada. In fact, if I say Canada, I'm wrong. I'll say I didn't have much reference of black lesbian that spoke to me for my thesis. And my thesis was mapping black lesbian visual history in apartheid or post-apartheid South Africa. So when I came here, as people who read and look upon places like Canada, especially Toronto, you'll think you'll get all the kind of information and the content is here, but there was limited kind of information that I could use as for reference point. And thinking of the queer archive in any country, it's always challenging to have people like us. You go to the galleries, you go to the museums, you ask yourself, where am I in all of this commotion? With that said, Joanne is here in the house. Katie, Joanne is the person that I opened my thesis with. And I said, she's here tonight. And it is such a great honor and pleasure to have, one member of the community who really wrote this history before we even thought that one day we'll share the same space and showcase in the same exhibition, At home, I'll say Nochal, but anyways, that's home. Yeah. My first time, we always say it's always the first time. The images that you see there, like how Gael said, They form part of more than 240 images. And I've been working on this particular series for more than 8 years now. And the project is inspired by Sisi Gasa, who was a young black lesbian. She was she was a young black lesbian. She suffered multiple hate crime incidents, and she ended up HIV positive. In 2006, March, she passed away, or she died. And I remember standing in front of 2007 March, she died. I remember standing in front of this person that I never thought that in 8 months from that period, she wasn't gonna be there. She was very young. When she died, she was only 25 years old. When I started, I thought that these images were gonna end up at 25. But I've been carrying on and on and on and on and on. And now I just thought I would have to keep on going until I reach my final dissertation. And if I reach 500, it will mean that that's my PhD. It will mean I have reached. Yeah. To be serious, Sophie, one of the curators of the other show, I've been thinking about the challenge that you probably have faced when you work on this. And I'll keep on going back and forth because this do is unstructured. Katie, please forgive me. Dr. Blake, please forgive me. I never have things in order since I was here, but I'll try to keep it tight. Gael, Vava, Erin, for short emails that I wrote to you, my forgiveness, but you got the point anyways. Sophie, in the house, I've been thinking a lot about the meaning of being here in this space and the meaning of this queer visibility and what it means to us, and also to say how much I appreciate you trying to put together an exhibition like this, including mine. Gael, I think my things are kind of like easier here, but I'll talk on a political, I'll speak politically without irritating you, and I'll then show you some of the videos that speaks to how I produce my work. The issue of visibility, the curators who decide on what should be on show and what's not, and it's very rare to have female curators in any country anyways. And there are very, very few black female curators in the world, let alone the very few images of black people who have published books or who have showcased at many museums where most of us or our forefathers were ever caricatured. So my bit is about visual politics, and I'm stressing the importance of the black people's existence in any space. And when we are all gathered in Toronto here and on Saturday speaking World Pride, I like us to think of what does black queer visibility mean within the Canadian context. What does that mean in Toronto? And I always wonder if there are no class issues here, if there are no divisions. And speaking from experience, I'm privileged to be showcasing in Canada, but I wonder how this space will look like if every month you'll have a black person who is queer, who is trans, who is a lesbian showcasing in this space. And I want to put a challenge upon curators to say these events must not only be limited to World Pride, because World Pride is only happening now. Next year you won't have World Pride. The Africans who are flocking in this space for only this weekend will have to go back home and deal with the challenges that they are facing, the ongoing challenges. And I wonder how many local people are given these spaces to showcase and deal with this invisibility that they're facing in their own spaces. And I'm thinking, as I speak with you right now, when I was in Canada, I met a group of young stars that were introduced to me by many people. The SOY project supporting our youth and the black queer youth, and also the members of Blokorama or the people who are organizing the space. And one needs to ask himself or herself, why do we have such spaces? Why we always go back to this, black that, block or this, block or Rama in this space if we're talking togetherness? I won't even go further when we talk about the youth that lives in Regent's Park who can't be here tonight. And I'm speaking from a South African point of view because we understand what the township is. We are not scared to say we were born and grew up in the townships. And we understand the spaces that sidelined us when we were young and how we decided to challenge those spaces and demanded that we were visible. I'm thinking of the youth, the black queer youth from Rexdale, Kingston, Galloway, where people really can't reach here. Maybe there's an assumption that the galleries and museums are not for black people. Maybe the assumption is that this space is not mine, but these spaces are for all of us. Toronto World Pride. I'm here, I'm proud, I'm happy to be home again. But the truth is, not so many people will afford to attend the World Pride Human Rights Conference, which costs more than $275 per person, and surely will cost $400, like Canadian dollars. And in my currency, $400 means somebody's salary, somebody's rental. That's the reality check. And forgive me if this is not what you were planning to hear. But the truth is, we need to ask questions. We need to ask questions, and it's not a problem to ask questions in as much as we want to celebrate and enjoy all the prides that are there to be. And surely this is for the first time, besides being out of an organized space where I see a lot of mixed colors. And it's so nice to see a diverse group. Dee, welcome to Ryerson. I'm here. Thank you so much. Yep. What we're seeing here is simple portrait. Head and shoulders, people confronting you, looking at you. These images have been shown around the world, from Venice Biennale to Documenta to Sao Paulo Biennale to so many other spaces. And I'm told that in history, it's so rare, or people have never seen a mix or a group of so many queer people, after 2010. Again, we are forced to ask ourselves, why are we forced to look at these black faces at this particular period in history? These pictures of people that I know, of my friends who are coming from different places. I have worked from South African townships, Cape Town, Durban, Johannesburg. I'm born in the township, and I understand the challenges that many of my friends are going through. But I won't limit this black lesbian history, visual histories of South African people who are queer to pain. Because in my headspace, we cannot push any struggle or any movement without love. To respect some of you, I won't play lesbians having sex because other people might have allergies. But I do, and I'll be willing to share that document because I think it's very, very, very important. It's very important for people to have an understanding that there is no movement. Pumi said and reminded me, and she quoted someone, that someone said, we won't push any movement without love. So when we think black lesbian histories, let's think about love. When we think about the violations that many black lesbians are facing in Africa, in the Caribbean, in other places where we exist, let's always remember that it's based on love, or two people who decided to be together and some homophobe and perpetrator decide to disorganize our peace. I personally believe that if history is important to many of us, we should not exclude those individuals who are paying taxes just like you. We should always remember that lesbians, gay, bisexual, and transgender people are born by men and women too, who might not be queer. And it's a pity that some of us, we come from families where our mothers and fathers, they subscribe to homophobic ideas which need to be dealt with. For some of you who just came, my name is Zanele Muholi. I'm a South African, proud black lesbian, irritated by invisibility, trying to deal with resistance of the people that I'm part, and making sure that we bring to the fore the images of people who deserve to be seen. Sophie, thanks once again. I was longing for the images of Rotimi Fanigayote, the man who changed my life. He's one of the co-founders of Autograph. And I thought to myself, if you have Robert Mapplethorpe in this show, you should be having Rotimi Fanigayote, because they were of the same age, they were contemporaries, they did the same job. I said to Joanne when we spoke earlier on, if we talk about lesbians who have written history and histories, whose work is archived at the Lesbian History Archives in New York, we should have images of black lesbians who are your age, who have written this history and have documented this history visually and otherwise, in order to challenge the myth of an African, status. People, most homophobes or some African leaders, they believe that homosexuality is an African. Okay, I won't go further on that because I personally believe that love is so African. Prabha, thanks for your politics. Thank you so much. I couldn't see you last night because Prabha was on and on and on with Pum. Anyways, we're about to work. For any questions that you may have, please feel free. There's no right and wrong. I will be honest in ways that I know how. If politicians, they write their jargon and try to convince people otherwise about how we should live our lives, and if academicians, they write and in order to convince the students that the history is right when they know that they don't know much about other histories, my approach is visual activism. I'm only taking images because I realize when I reach age 20-something that I don't want to die young without rewriting my history, because the apartheid regime and all the racist South Africans at that time, they couldn't write my mother in history. For some people who care to have their voices heard and who want to be recognized and be respected and be counted beyond census, people, let's write our history. It's the right thing to do, and it's not really difficult. I learned from here, I learned from Ryerson. And one of my fellow classmates was Elaine Brody. She's a very, very nice woman. And I remember when she had to work on a thesis and how her family became part of her work or her art, and how she spoke of the lint when you wash, the fluff that you get from your washing machine. That was history. I respected her so much. That's how Canada was at that time. It's so unfortunate that when I went back home to tell my mom that I have made it, I mean, for most of us, for most black people, some of us, we like the first member of your family to be at the university. So mind you, not only was I at the university, I was at the university overseas. I was overseas. And then when I went back home, my mom died. So I couldn't share that joy, because she worked for so many years as a domestic worker, of which some of my work look at domestic work and domestic workers. But I will share with you some of the few images. And again, to say that Faces and Phases is not only the document or the project that I'm working on, but this happened to be one project that is so dear to me. We are getting there. We're going to have 11-minute short documentary, just to give you some context of how I work. And after that, I will continue. I'll try by all means not to bore you. For me, being here, it's like winning a Nobel Prize. This is so special, and I feel so honored to have so many people who guided me and so many people that I learned from. And to Katie, once again, you caused all of this. Thank you. Vava.
I will be there forevermore. There's a special star that shines every evening in your eyes. Special star that shines. It's gonna hit a lullaby. Special, I'm going to put Vaseline. Good. I'm Zanele Muholi, reporting live from South Africa. I'm a visual activist. I take photographs. The kind of work that I do is on queer politics, gender politics, politics of race. I'm fascinated by LGBTI individuals in different spaces. I've learned how beautiful this place is, how important our lives are, and why we should preserve a history about our own people, about us. Very, very interesting township. I've done a lot of shots here. I shot the first gay wedding here in 2002. I don't even know that there are lesbians who own dogs. This is for the first time that I know someone who owns a dog. Hi! The light is good here. Yeah. I'm going to shoot a follow-up portrait of Tumi. I used to be a hairstylist. Really? Yeah. We had a life before we came out. Somebody asked me how influential am I when it comes to this portrait. And I said to people, I just want people to look good. Oh. I really, really want people to be fresh. We're going to Limpopo Pride.
I'm coming. When I read the address.
We're connected by photography. I was doing photo shoot here in Guatemala, and I thought that she was just a very nice person to be in the Faces and Phases series that I'm working on. You have young generation that is growing up now who doesn't share maybe the same, commonalities like lesbians who were out there in the 90s or late 80s before South Africa gained independence. The young lesbians now, they are socialites, connected by the social medias and all of that, and they're free when it comes to photographs, etc., etc. I know maybe some people get surprised when you start photographing.
I was surprised, but at the same time it was fun. I had fun and I didn't know that I'm photogenic. So since then, I like to take myself pictures.
So this is 3 years later. We are in the same township, and the township is so popular with
the killings.
With no gay lives. There are a lot of gay people in Guatemala. And also it has since become notorious for hate crimes because in 2008, a non-black lesbian was brutally murdered here. 2012 was one of the most painful years in our history. We lost a lot of members of our communities. And hate crimes, specifically curative rapes and lesbian murders, became one of the brutality that is stained in our brains forever. We live in fear. Death happened to bind us. Hate crimes have become a binding factor for the LGBTI communities. We come together to either give support or to confirm that somebody has been killed. Then that person becomes a statistic. Another case number becomes part of our history. And what are we doing about it? Do we always go and attend funerals, and then after funerals you go home, you wait for another funeral? What? You have to document. You are forced to document.
Transformation by
I don't
Zanele
only do...
Muholi. Transformation by Zanele Muholi.
No, by you, this is your head. I'm using visuals as a way of creating awareness, capturing the moments, those truths and realities the world will learn about our cultures. I could give you something tangible and say, feel it, this is it, see. You invited to be in that space even though you were not there. Let's put it in and out. We're shooting faces and faces, not fashion. Yeah. There is the other side of me when I perform. There is the other side of me when I'm me. How will you engage with me? You look so gay, yeah? Actually, you look like a drag queen. Most of the time, I work with people that I know. They're no strangers to me. I call the people who are in my photographs participants because you partake in a project that will inform many audiences.
And when it comes to these young lesbians you are teaching?
Any person who's interested in learning is welcome to learn how to take photographs. I provide cameras as long as a person will be able to document what will then become a contribution towards Inganyeso, which is the organization that I formed. One cannot do these major projects alone, which is why I invited people to come on board and work with me. And it means that it's not lonely anymore. Take 5. I started this project called Inganyeso to ensure that people who are featuring in my photographs get a platform to share their own lives and work. People get to read about sex, people get to read about anything that they will never, in as much as South Africa is so democratic, they'll never see that kind of text in the mainstream media. Most of the team members, we are black lesbians. People occupy different positions within the Inganyeso crew. Bongi is a documenter, and Lirato is a graduate. She's a journalist, and we just posted a new story on Pep Smear that she wrote this morning. Now I had to beg Lirato to cut that hair, and look how beautiful this person is. He did Lirato's portrait in 2010, so we're gonna have a nice follow-up shot. I train and I will continue to train with or without funding. Because if I wait for someone to validate my existence, it will mean that I'm shortchanging myself. Recently, we had to decide whether we buy a fridge where we live or we buy a new lens. So we sleep on the floor, it's nice, documenting with my crew, it's fabulous. I love the people that I work with. A lot of people are reading this Pep Smear thing.
For, lesbian or even butch women, it's something that's, I don't know if I can say taboo. But I don't know, you said you need me to revise it.
No, you have to do part 2.
Part 2, what's part 2 about?
I don't think that you gave it your all, like how you write when you tackle the issues of hate crimes and other. What would you like to read about in the mainstream?
Not even read, even when seeing, I'd like to see an advert of a family where it's the mother and the baby, and they're fighting germs in the household. It shouldn't only be about the violence and the homophobia.
We want to bring about change in spaces that are queerphobic. We still have religious leaders who want to use homosexuality as scapegoat for their own hate. Instead of dealing with poverty, instead of dealing with the corrupted systems that we find ourselves in, and that's what leads to many hate crimes. See where there's white concrete wall? Is where Noxolo Nogwaza was found. Noxolo Nogwaza is a victim of hate crime who was brutally murdered. Her head was crushed with a big stone. Her teeth were all over the place. Noxolo Nogwaza's children are not the first to be orphaned by hate crimes. What will people say to the children what happened to their mothers? Noxolo's case is still outstanding. I don't know how far do they investigate these cases. We all document that lesbian funeral. Every person who has a cell phone with a camera, it doesn't matter what quality. And all of us come together in one space and download and share You make that document viral. We want to say to our government, this is what I'm talking about when I talk of a lesbian funeral. It's my wish that we could find positive lesbian icons on Wikipedia as well, other than to always find brutal murders. You Google black lesbians in South Africa, you'll see what you see there. There's nothing that focuses on same-sex love versus these hate crimes. When do we start talking about intimacy? I produce pictures that are intimate because I'm an intimate being. This intimacy that disrupts the perpetrator leads to us being killed. It starts by the same-sex love that is disorganizing the mindset of the homophobe. More education is needed. Mainstream communities need to come on board and help us and ensure that there's no other hate crime. Projecting positivity sometimes can lead to the change. Projecting brutality and violations could lead to further violence. So I think that we need to find a balance in which we project these realities.
Let's go to the beach, eat, let's go get a wave. They say what they're gonna say. Hello, beauty.
Nkanyiso is at Limpopo Pride 2013. I came with the Nkanyiso crew last night. Once we're done here, we're going to put it up on social networks to make sure that people who might not be here understand what is taking place and get the visuals. People think that pink cities are Cape Town, Durban, and Johannesburg. People cannot even imagine that there's Limpopo Pride. It's very important for us to say that LGBTI individuals are all over. Any space is possible. So we're here to celebrate with the people of this province. It's about saying, I want to be counted in South African history. Claiming my full citizenship, it means that I have to write that part of history.
Let's have it, DJ. Let's have the music there.
That was just a few minutes of work, which in a way I thought it was important for me to pack it. It is one of the collaborations I had with Human Rights Watch. Since I left here, I've been working with a number of people because in my headspace I thought we still have a lot of work that needs to be done, and one cannot produce a lot of visual documents alone because it's expensive and it's also tiring, and we ever think of like issues of safety. So I work on this one, which basically means that Human Rights Watch, they had to fund for the project. And I know that in as much as we may like to document, the issue of resources become a problem because people have stories to tell, but then they never enough resources in place to accommodate all of us. And this is just one bit. And another collaboration that I'm working on with other people, we're teaching young girls at a girls' high school in Soweto how to document their own neighborhood or their community. In my headspace, I just thought that it's good we have universities, but there'll be very, very few of us who will use photography or film as another alternative method to speak out. So we deal with like homophobic spaces, we deal with like spaces that exclude many women especially. So those spaces need to be documented, and then we then share such with many people around the globe. There are more than 20 girls who have been taught basic photographic skills. And it means that from early, people get to become historians without doing it hectically, in a very, very simplified way. I work for different projects, buy cameras, give it to the people, and let them document. Yeah, so we have a lot of work that we still need to do. I will just open up for maybe 10 minutes Q&A before you forget, and then I'll proceed. Because I just want us to engage in all of this. Maybe some people in the room, they do it differently. Let's learn from each other and do not treat this as a lecture. This is not a lecture, it's an artist talk. Artist/activist talk. So for any questions, there's no wrong or right. Yes.
Hi.
Yes.
Hi, thanks for your talk. I'm just wondering if your visual activism increases danger for some people. So does the visibility, does it affect the security or safety of some of the people that you photograph?
Okay, thanks for your question. I photograph people who are already out of the closet. I don't want to be responsible for your closet. So therefore, for each and every person who is in the picture, need to be already out. I'll show you another short film where you'd see how I meet people. And others, they approach me, and unfortunately, I prefer to approach the person because I work with my mood and I have to feel what I'm doing. So engaging and the relationship that I have with certain individuals that I work with is easier. Yeah, but most people are out of the closet. Upumi, who is wearing a maroon shirt there, she's one of the young people that I ever wanted to photograph. So it means that it takes long for other people before I even photograph them. And if I say, maybe she's one person that I ever wanted to document, and it's been like 16 years, I'm still waiting for that portrait. We are out, regardless of the dangers that are in place. And some people, they're making sure that you cannot silence us, whether you violate our bodies or not, because that won't change the fact that a person is, what she is, and it won't change your many identities. So we're completely out. And another rule that I put in place, people have to sign a consent form, not as human subjects, but as participants. You need to know what you're putting yourself into. So basic, obviously when a person photographs you, nobody's stealing your shot. You know that you are being shot. You sign the consent form. If you don't sign the consent form, we are doing it easy now because the cameras that we use nowadays, they're digital and you have the video option in which somebody could consent, verbally. So you sign the consent form or you consent verbally. That's basic. No people under the age of 16 or 17 because you need to have reached the age of consent. I don't want to be asking your mom because your mother never taught you how to sleep with a woman or your mother never taught you how to sleep with a man. We figured out these plans along the way. So you need to know who you are, how you identify, and also to say that we are all at risk. Yeah. Any other question?
I guess it's me. I wanted to know if you have support from other gay and lesbian associations in South Africa, since you were saying, that the townships, there's a division. I'd like to know how that plays out.
Thank you so much for that particular one. Same, that's Pumi. I'll keep on pointing fingers at her because she asked me that. It's so unfortunate that I fortunately don't get support from home. I don't. The support that I get is from people who are featuring in my series. That's the major support beyond finances. For people believing in what you are doing, for people trusting that you are doing. But I have to be honest about this, what I'm about to say now. For one, to be honest. Sometimes you have a vision. You know that you want to achieve something, But the very same people who are comrades, they tend to backstab you. It happens here, it happens around the globe. Sometimes I need that support from my fellow men. And fellow men, I mean other black lesbians who are in power at home. But I don't get that support from those who are in charge of big organizations. But I get support from the ordinary lesbians from the township. Sometimes you find that the very same people who are in charge, who are having good salaries, and they try to influence the youngsters and say this person is making money out of you. That's the most painful part. And I said to Pumzile yesterday that it's lonely from where I'm seated right now because nobody will understand. And I'm speaking from experience to say, thinking of where we come as South Africans, I didn't even give you the context or history. From 1990 to 1994, where South Africans voted for the first time in history, where people of all races voted, black lesbians were ever done, were documented by outsiders. And for most African communities, we are known for oral histories. Even that oral history was never documented by us. But if you have one of your own documenting, people start questioning. People start questioning. And I have a friend, her name is Lindega Kampi. She's from Cape Town. Sometimes you find that we walk in the same spaces where black people are residing. And we're documenting, I'm not even talking about like black lesbian projects here, just like people in space. You'll find that there'll be a white person who's coming from overseas and giving people 20 rand, 100 rands, and people won't even stop and engage with you because you're not going to give them money right then. So which is another form of corruption, to say, between the 20 bucks that you get now without questioning where your photograph will be shown, and between the person who doesn't have, but you are possible to see your document at the end of the day, it's become an issue. I never received any prize from home. I have won awards from home because the outside world recognized me. And it's up until recently, after working for more than 12 years, tirelessly, because the work that you're seeing is just work of 8 years ago, but my early work dates back to 12 years ago. It's up until recently where I had an exhibition at a university at home, like early this year. Before then, no. So that's the story of my life, you know. Yeah, and it's the reality check. And now that I won a prize last year, a big prize, which is called Prince Claus Fund, which kind of like boosted me in a way. Also other individuals, when you think, oh, we need money, you help people. I don't have a problem. I share some of the funds that I get, and I believe that the best way in which we could share the resources with people if you give them education and if you give people equipment. It means that each time I work, I have to share some resources with the people who have made it possible for me to be where I am. But from any other big organizations, and I'm glad that this is recorded, no. Not today, not yesterday, not day before. I'm still looking forward to that support. And when we talk about support, we're not talking about like financial support. We're talking emotional support after documenting many cases of hate crimes, where all you need is someone in charge of some organization where we all claim to be activist, feminist. Somebody say, how are you doing? What do you like? I long for those questions in a way that I'm approaching life now kindly, amicably. As you hear me, no check or nothing. Just somebody say, how are you doing? That's support that one needs, you know? And who is your publisher? Where do you stay? How safe are you? That's the support that one needs before finances. And I spoke with Prabha yesterday that I don't even know how to write proposals. I don't even bother because it's competitive, it's messy. Sometimes you approach an organization and they ask you, how different is your work to another person? And I'm thinking, oh my God, I've been doing this check forever. Can't you see? So I've just decided, okay, I have to work for what I believe in, and I'll do it with or without funding, as I said there. Yeah. Any other question? Yes.
Just. I have an artsy question. I'm fascinated by the editing process and by what artists keep for the final presentation, but more interested in what they omit, what they leave behind. Can you maybe just describe a little bit about your editing process? What happens after hours, a day of shooting, and you come home with hundreds and hundreds of photographs? What's your process like for selecting?
I cry a lot. I cry, you know. I know some of the lesbians in the house, they've seen the trans film that we all know, Boys Don't Cry. I'm the soft man, I cry a lot. I go home and cry because I get so frustrated at times. Usually, it's hard for one to be honest about her feelings at times. Sometimes I don't like to write about my feelings. On Sundays, or every second Sunday, I speak to Figile. She's my therapist. It means that we have to gauge time of 6 hours because you guys are behind and, you know, South Africa is 6 hours ahead of you. And then I have to wait for Figile. And I speak my language. She understands. And it's safer because she's not at home. She doesn't need to see what I'm going through. And I chose not to speak to any therapist because still the therapists don't get it. It's just my own madness. Sometimes I joke about, it's a silly joke, but the photographers will know. Sometimes after shooting, I said, I don't know what led Diana Abbas to suicide. It's not funny, but it's serious, you know. Yeah, it's painful. It's really painful. Actually, when I came to Canada, we just had when I just started in the program, 2 of the lesbians that we were at the same party with were butchered, execution style. Salome, Masua, and Sizagel, Sikasa were brutally killed. And then I remember being here and glad that they had a fundraising for the child of one of the victims of hate crime at the time. So 2007 was one of the harshest years in her history because we lost friends. And then 5 years later, in 2012, we had also a number of hate crime-related cases. And as one documented these incidents, a lot of people were raped along the way. So it was case after case after case. And I think that being here also saved me because it was just way too much. And few months later, after I started in the program, Yudis Melanie was brutally murdered in Watema Township. And you keep on hearing these stories from home and you're thinking to yourself, will these hate crimes ever end? So I really don't have that immediate person that I speak with, and Figile is there. And I also have another friend in New York that I speak to, by choice, of course. You know, as I say, it's safer. I don't necessarily need to speak to another lesbian. Figile is not a lesbian, and I don't need to share my pain with a lesbian. I just need to speak to a human being who will pause for 2 minutes and listen to me. So that's what happens. I don't know how other photographers deal with, you know, but for most of us, like, which is why I'm calling my approach visual activism. I'm not producing these images for aesthetics, you know. I'm not talking beauty here. I'm capable of producing beautiful images, but it's hard when people are being killed and when people are dying. And you live at times like you have this fantasy and say, okay, this is it. But honestly, you think, I have a show here, and I can't even have a show like this at home because about 10 days ago, there was a big show that is called Dark Arts that was shut down with my work and other few artists' work who are from Africa. And it happened in Senegal exactly 10 days ago. And I'm here maybe with some of the activists from Senegal who will be celebrating Pride this weekend. And I'm thinking also of how, over a period of time, how activists have used art activism as an approach to deal with many forms of violations or prejudice in their spaces. But when we speak as NGOs, like there's always that divide where art, these are artists, we are activists. So it's like it's very important for a person who's holding the placard and be at the forefront of the movement than the person who's documenting the movement. So you'll find that how the donor funding is allocated, whoever designs those programs, they prioritize programming. They won't prioritize how art activism and how art could be used as therapy for activists to deal with all of this mess or these atrocities. And I think that it's quite undermining because people will never get it, that art activism could be another approach to deal with these issues. So I don't know how many queer artists even get considered here or in other spaces when they deal with the same subject matter, especially if they won't mention hate crimes. Because obviously, if you say hate crime, somebody's going to listen to you. But if you say, I just want to do something lovely, loving, tender, no, that's not activism. Yeah. Any other question?
Okay, so I'm back to the same question because I'm in love with South African lesbians because it's so visible. And I want to know if there's a black lesbian aesthetic in South Africa. I mean, here I find a lot of women blend, so you can't tell if somebody's lesbian or butch or femme or whatever. But there's a specific beauty in South African lesbians. I want to know if there's a thought to it or if it's just in the water, like you said.
It's in the water. Honestly, I mean, Dee knows for sure. Like, Africans are beautiful people. Are indeed beautiful people. Regardless of race. They are beautiful people. Sometimes I don't understand why will people want to violate and disorganize such, you know. And I don't want to call people flowers, even though some of our names, we end up being Balisa, which means flower, of course, because of such beautiful kind. Anyways, we are a group of beautiful people. I don't even know how to describe it, you know. And I think that's why homophobes wonder, why will two beautiful women fall in love or love each other when they are there as men, as patriarchs, you know? I think that's what threatens most men who violate lesbians, because they don't want to see such beauty in place. Yeah, I don't have any theory for it. I know that we are indeed beautiful. You saw it for yourself. And this is just like a small portion. There are lots. Yeah, there are lots. Both butches and femme, and I'm attracted to butches because they have a different kind of way of looking at you. Yeah. Yeah, no. I don't date butch, but I like butch. Yeah. To go back to serious or to realities, most of the people in the series, they have their life stories that I always beg people to write for themselves, because I don't want to speak on behalf of the individuals. I have a collective that I started when I left here. I saw there was a number of groups that were working together. They made things happen in Toronto. And I went back home and I started a collective. And the name of my collective is called Nganyiso, the one that you saw there. So part of the life stories of the people featuring in Faces and Phases are there. So you get to read about different individuals. And I have Samson Brown is one of the guys that I documented here. He has recently written his own story, and I'll request Complex to do that, and also Michelle to do that. And to say why I decided to focus mainly on Torontans, because I look at people like us, like I even call the sub theme of the Canadian one, I call it Siakona, which means that we are capable, and it said / we exist. But there was that word that kept on buzzing in my head that said Siafana. We are black people from different countries. We speak different languages, but we are the same. A Caribbean person look almost the same like a South African until that Caribbean starts speaking with that accent that I don't understand. And in my headspace, I'm looking at this person from another space, and I'm thinking to myself, you should be speaking Zulu, hey? Because we're so much the same. But anyway, that's how much I appreciated your being, your faces, and your presence in this space, and how you, in a way, claim your own spaces and try to blend in. I really, really like it. And one of the first book that was published as part of our production class, because we were asked to do a project or a homework. I did a production, for production one, I produced that book, which is available. Dee has it at her house, and it's only one book from Toronto on this series. But each and every face featuring in the series, please note that it's somebody's life story. It goes beyond just the photograph being taken by the photographer, but it forces you as the viewer to engage with each person and start questioning, what about her? What about him? Why is she looking back at me? And what is this cause of confrontation? And with faces specifically, I wanted to speak about that confrontation where you are looking at someone and someone looking back at you, and then you wonder. And the phases now will be, for instance, Michelle was at a different space at that time, maybe resided somewhere else, in a different space, maybe with someone else, or in a different space also with those individuals that Michelle was with. But the phase is all that we went through, and the commotion and all that took place. That's the phase to say we grow as a people. Sometimes we face challenges, sometimes we don't. But that growth and that development in our lives becomes that phase. You don't become just one thing. So phase also could relate to history or to something that was. Yeah. I don't know if my accent conveys the message. Does it? Okay. Sure. Any other question? Yes, sir. Okay, my being in the series, I wanted to share with the viewers that I'm one of the community members, and I wasn't speaking from outside. And my approach is always from inside out. So my approach is from an insider's point of view. I like these things because they make life easier for us. This you could save time. I put you here and make sure that I'm in clear focus, yeah? I wish I could share with you one of the projects that I'm working on. Sometimes you run within 10 minutes step, blah, 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 blah. You get it right. Sometimes you don't get it right. That's how the world of digital works nowadays. Yeah, I needed to be in the series, self-timed, engage it with my nephew that I stayed with at that time. So he had to be that pole that I needed to see. And then I used 60D, which has a flip screen, LCD screen, so it was easier. And I like to pose anyway because I believe in visuals. So that's how it became a self-portrait. Others, I allow other people to photograph me because I feel that it's fair. If I expose other people, it's important for others to expose me. So I've worked with quite a number of other photographers who have photographed me over a period of time. But I like to do me. Like I like to take images. I like to take images of myself. Yeah, I really don't mind. I love photographs, especially now that one is maturing. The body changes, etc., etc. How I used to do things 5 years ago is different. My body is doing other things, you know. But I shoot still. Yeah. Did I respond? Yeah. Yeah. Any other person? Yeah.
In your film, I caught the word curative rape,
Right.
and I'm wondering. I mean, I admit I don't know very much about the political background, but for some reason the word curative struck me personally. You know, like I understand it as a factual descriptor, but I guess I'm interested to know how do you respond to that word, or why would you use that word from the perspective, I think, of a woman of color coming from where you come from, and from a woman who identifies with her emotions and with love as, you know, the kind of inner force that leads you. You know, why, in other words, why is the word curative rape? What are you trying to say, I guess, from an emotional perspective?
Is it the first time you hear the word?
I mean, to describe, like I know what the word means literally, but I guess to describe rape.
I don't know if Pumzile is gone or she's still there. She's still around. I need her here now. I need to be saved. I have since, I don't want to pretend as if I'm the only black lesbian from South Africa. We are many. I want to say curative rape, sometimes we appropriate terms simply because we want the listener or viewers to get the message. Phumi, ngicela ungisize, usisi ufuna ukwazi ukuthi i-curative rape sisebenzisa kanjani lelo gama if umuntu wesifazane uhlukumezekile. Woza bamba umbhobho. Yeah. Pumi is going to respond to that because she is one of the people who resolved the case of curative rape and is one of the activists that came way before me and more popular with such cases. Please kindly respond. Yeah. Could you please repeat the question? She is going to, yeah.
I guess I've never come across the term curative rape. So originally the question was, you know, how does it resonate with you? But I suppose I'd be interested in just understanding the weight of the word from the context.
In a context which denies the existence of same-sex love, in a context that promotes tribalism, nationalism, a patriarchy reinforced completely, and that same-sex love is foreign, or it is a sickness that needs to be cured. And in many ways, it doesn't only happen because of lesbians. Unfortunately, in some African cultures, where women who disobey will be put to an uncle to sort them out, and often through using sexual violence in that form. So curative rape is born from unfortunate African so-called traditions, which are really not African traditions, but this power that men and patriarchy particularly is used to reinforce male domination over women's bodies. And so for lesbians, it's taken a particular trend in South Africa where to get back, to cure you, to show you that you are missing something that is actually good for you, right for you, we will rape you, and that is a form of curing you, and hence curative rape. Bye. I hope that's useful.
You happy?
Yes.
Thank you so much. I wanted to say that I don't work alone, and there are activists who are here from home, who have so much to say, and who have paved the way for many of us. And I would not have said it better than Pumzile. I don't want to lie to you. By the way, she's the only black lesbian who posed with Nelson Mandela. I wish. Anyways, yeah, she said it clearly. For me, I would have chopped things. Recently, I have coined the term queer-side to speak on hate crimes and how queers are ever brutally murdered in South African spaces, in Africa. Some people are displaced and then later killed, and in some instances you find that family members are involved in those cases. So I decided on the term that made sense to me, and I said there's something like queer side. It makes sense. Somebody will ask next time, what does that mean? But in my headspace, it's straightforward. Queer side, curative, rape. It's not nice to hear such words, but sometimes we are forced to use them because we want to be heard and we need our people to be rescued. But all I know for sure is that we are beautiful people and intelligent people. And it's a pity that the media doesn't portray us in that way, which is why we are forced to create our own community-based media, strategies in a way. Any other question? Yes.
First and foremost, thank you for returning the gaze. And thank you for committing to document and platform and celebrate the lives of black queer South Africans. I'm wondering, really simply, or perhaps not so simply, what are you looking forward to?
Where?
What are you looking forward to?
I have a dream, not like Martin Luther King though. It's just my own queer dream. I was thinking that we don't have, I like this place for one thing, that most of the photographs that the students produce and that our professors produce, it doesn't matter whether it's the tree, it's the park, you get your work published. I like it here for that. Because I'm that kind of person. There's something here. Ryerson, this is my pride. It means that I have to take this back home. My dream, my next step, when I left Ryerson, I knew for sure that I was going to start a project at home. I wasn't going to work for anyone. So I've been independent for the past 5 years. And 2, I want to have a publication with black lesbian images and stories that is easy for one to read without using jargon, without using any theories, just people's life stories that we could track back and use as a reference point, because we don't have any lesbian magazine that speaks to me at home right now. We don't have black lesbian magazine, and that's it. And we don't have, in 20 years, like South Africa celebrates 20 years of democracy this year, from 1994 to 2014. And this particular show would not have happened at any other right period than now. And I'll take it upon my duty to have, in the next 5 years, I'd like to publish a new book every year. And I'm clear with that. My next publication is coming out in September, to be published by Stedel Press. For some photographers, they know that's a dream. I'll be publishing every year, so that if I don't make it to spaces like this, at least my grandchildren will have something to hold, which won't be denied or hidden away from them. When somebody says, "Who was your gran?" and the child will say, this is my grandmother, with pride, of course. So I want to publish every year. I don't know how, but with God's faith, it's going to happen. I learned that from here, that publications are very important at this digital age. So I'm going to publish. It doesn't matter how small that publication will be, but I want to have something tangible that any other black person who identify likewise, when they say that you don't exist and somebody said, I had something for you, giving to her lover or someone. And that my next book will be my 4th publication in, say, 2006. This is the 9th year. So the next one will be the 4th one, which means that I'm late. We have a lot of women who are posing for a lot of good guys who are great photographers, but we have less books that are published of women who are photographers. For me, there's a gender issue right there. We have a lot of beautiful images, speaking to your question, lady, where a lot of black people, they become subject to a lot of nice projects. No dispute on that, and it's okay for photographers to document whoever that they want to. But it's very rare to have images of black female photographers in any bookshop. Then I have an issue there, because we are so visible. Black is hot, black is visible. So therefore, we need to have a lot of books, you know. And some people in the house, I know that there are people of color, please forgive me. I'm talking about publications, not much politics. And if people understand my pain, you will get the meaning. At your exhibition, Sophie, you have nice document with Cyrus and other people who did voice recordings. Cyrus and Nick's child, they will have something tangible. You know, their child will have something tangible and say, my parents, they contributed towards a Canadian history. But for most of us, it's very rare, especially from Africa. So one is forced to produce these documents, not for show, but to make a statement that these spaces are possible. Yeah, so this is not about art, but it's about history. It's about making a statement, desperate to be heard, recognized, and respected as a, yeah. So, do we have other final questions?
We'll take
Cool.
one more question,
Yeah.
one final question.
Yeah. I like to show you the final one and my forgiveness, because I know that sometimes you want to feel the pain, and I try to destabilize the pain. It's been challenging, it's been a long journey, and by choice for this talk, I decided not to project pain. Could you please show me, if you could go to Stevenson Gallery, and then go to Of Love and Loss. And I'll just share, responding to your question again, there's a nice project that I'm working on with my current girlfriend. She's French. Her name is Valérie. I'm learning how to speak French. We speak Zoufre. Yeah, it's just my pride. It's one of the best documents that I've ever done. I still can't get the technicalities right. I just shoot nowadays. Yeah. South Africa legalized same-sex marriages in 2006. For some of you who want to get this history, I could send me an email. I'll send you an email, and then you get the timeline. If you press something, command minus, it will reduce the screen. Yeah, again. Yeah, better. Could you please go? Yeah. And you could click of love and loss. This one. Yeah. Below where the text is. Yeah. And go up. Of Love and Loss is a series that I've been working on for a few years now. And I try to juxtaposition between pain and loss of losing lovers and friends along the way as we continue with this activism journey. And I had a performance. I do performances from time to time. I think that's the beauty of being an artist, an activist. You just do. So I'm doing it these days. And then I had this custom-made coffin, and I was inside for 20 minutes. And the 20 minutes marked 20 years of democracy. And I wanted to get a feel of how people responded to seeing a coffin in a gallery space and how they responded to it. And I was there, and people started taking photographs, and I realized that whether you're dead or alive, some people, move on with their lives. I was hurt. It's exactly what happens when we hear the news of someone being killed. Some people care, some, they rush, they look forward to go to the funeral. After the funeral, obviously, they meet girlfriends and they forget as if nothing wrong happened. So it was just my own personal issue. Yeah. Could you please go back? And for some of you who want to see more other projects that I've produced, that's the link, by the way. And then if you go down, yeah, please click on Venice. So I've been working on these lovely images, and I'm shooting with my girlfriend. And with this image, or these images, I'm basically interrogating the interracial relationships which are queer and not much spoken about. And I haven't read a thesis that speaks to me and how troubling and how sometimes people feel discriminated as they love their partners and excluded by the families who are still racist. So this is one of the political documents that I'm producing. The issue is about black and white. I come from South Africa, which was infested by apartheid. That race, at home, just to respond to your question, there's nothing like people of color. We have 4 people in South Africa. You have white people, you have Indian people, you have coloreds, and blacks are on the low. And it means that if I'm a black lesbian, I have to work extra hard to prove a point that at least a black person could rise above. But there's nothing like a person of color, which I respect here. I truly respect from this other side. At home, you colored, you black, you Indian, not even Asian, Indian, yeah, and then white. That's how the classification of race was given to us by those who were in power, unfortunately. The pictures were taken in Venice. We have shot in different cities. We have moved from Amsterdam to Berlin to Venice to Zurich to Al to Sweden. We have done quite a number of cities. Wherever we lay our heads, we shoot ourselves. Same. Self-timing. Sometimes we use remote control, use our feet, we get the picture. Yeah. Could you please go back? Go up. No, so like this, up, yeah. The one was shot in Al. There's a big film photo fest that happens in France. I'm about to finish, Gail. Valerie, I'm about to finish. This image is a diptych. It's me trying to deal with me aging, my aging. And I'm looking at this perishable thing in space, wondering, dealing with my own personal issues. This is a 2013 shot, and there are many of these ones. Could you please also go back? Yeah, could you click on the Zava? Zava, on the right? Yeah. The series is called Zava, and it's a combination of two names. Za is for Zanele, and Va is for Valerie. It's called Zava. Zava, yeah. And also, it's about love, it's about race, it's about class issues in space. Valerie is not an artist, she's a physician. And trying to convince her to be in these pictures, like, oh, what about my job? And I'm like, but your job is your love is your job. Let's do it, man. We can't keep this life in the closet. Because not many people are doing it anyway. There are so many people who are in interracial relationships, but they're ever scared to deal with this mess. We need to deal with it. Sometimes people are forced to divorce their friends because they don't understand why this black gold digger and others want to declare, or they are either divorced by their families. So it's a different topic for another day. We fight a lot. Because sometimes maybe we are lost in translation. Maybe sometimes she thinks in French. Maybe sometimes I get angry in Zulu. And when we make love, surely somebody decide in her own language how to come and where. But anyways. Could you please go back? I'm about to finish. I'm just celebrating World Pride in Toronto. Valerie? The one in Bodo 2013. Yeah. Yeah, this one is on same-sex love, same-sex gender loving, mixed with religion. Also, we shot ourselves in this. There's a whole lot. And then I had an interview with one of the French journalists, and she asked me, why are we forced to see images of you and your French lover? I'm like, all right. I said, oh, yeah. I think I'll respond to you next year, but let me work for now. Yeah, because some questions, they really meant to delay you. So that I wasn't ready to respond to. All I know is that I have feelings, I'm in love now, and I like to see these images more and more and more than to see bloody images of lesbians that are portrayed in the media, because it's like the more you see blood, it's the more the perpetrators are turned on by this blood and want to kill some more, you know. So I just told myself that I'd rather suffer for something that I believe in, that is visible, than to die in silence, you know. I'll show you the last one. Could you please go back? Away from me now. That's the video. It's called Being Seen, like scenes of the movie. And this is another series of work, which is on mourning, when people are mourning the death of someone. And I worked mainly with trans women here in black and candles, which was not really difficult. And up. This is one of my queer images. Could you please click on Nati? Yeah. I shoot some of these things. I don't like to shoot color photographs much. I prefer black and white. I was taught in black and white, and I think for people who are shooting color photographs, you need to be skilled and understand color. And that's a challenge. Surely people who are here will understand. And in black and white, you need to deal with 3 tones. It's not that difficult. Yeah, this is Nati. I took this image of Nati after the funeral of Muntu on the 4th of January. So this person came from the funeral. Like that. Yeah. And then could you please go back? The ones that you see in these are just not like fashion images. It was the wedding of Promise and Give on the 22nd of December last year. Could you please click the 2 men kissing? This was at their wedding, on their wedding day. And I took this picture at the park. And I think I just thought to myself, it was just nice and easy and simple. And if we say that we have same-sex marriages in South Africa, we needed a picture that speaks to those marriages as well. And for me, that's the kindest thing to do as a photographer. What marriage are you talking about? How does it look like? Where are the people? Who are they? I got invited to shoot this wedding. And then the deal that we had was, I'll give you all your images. I don't need you to pay me as long as you allow me to exhibit some of the images from. That was the deal. So you have your photo album. I just need 1 or 2 pictures to present when I give talks. Could you please go back? And then up. And this one's of this gay wedding. Some gay men started complaining. They said, you shoot a lot of lesbians, you don't shoot us. I'm like, guys, come on. I'm not working for anyone here. I'm trying. So there's so much that is going on at home, which is so positive that some people don't get to read about. And for me personally, I think that it's very important for me to project myself and my life and my partner to encourage other photographers who are documenting queer lives to say that let's do not only do others before we look at us. So it's very important for us to look at ourselves in as much as we like to share the lives of other people with people of the world. The picture, the middle one with the butches. This one, number 2. Yeah, that's one. Yeah. This is Ayanda. Ayanda is in Faces and Phases. She'll be turning 29 at the end of this month. She's a lesbian mother of 2. Very, very, very beautiful person. Ayanda got married few months after she was in charge of Duduzile Zozo's funeral. Duduzile Zozo was a 26-year-old lesbian who was murdered last year in Johannesburg, in Thokoza. So, to respond to your question of visibility, Ayanda is already visible. These images are of activists who understand who they are. And this is a public, event. And she happened to be the first one with her partner to get married in the township, in Thokoza Township. So we are so visible. And also, if you look at these images, the gender binary within, I call it gender within gender. You have the butches and femme, and it's so clear who is positioned where, Yeah. She calls me Ubaba. Baba is like Mister. I like it. Yeah. We go back. Yeah, just to connect what is going on with the individuals in those pictures, to say not only in that series, but people have, have their own lives. Yeah. And then we just go up. Yeah. And this is another wedding. Go up. Yeah. The picture with a lot of people. Yeah, below. This wedding took place in KZN, KwaZulu-Natal, which is our president's province, and it happened to be my province because we are all Zulus. How nice. Yep. I wanted to show with this picture that some other families, they accept us. Not everybody get evicted from home or get displaced simply because of sexuality. So again, I think it's very, very important to juxtaposition these things and also create a balance of some sort to say, yes, hate crimes, they take place in South Africa, but other people find ways in which they negotiate the space and gain respect in their communities. So this is one of the positive events or images that one has taken over, like we've taken over a period of time. I shoot a lot of funerals, but also I shoot a lot of weddings. And I have like what you call maybe in the UK 4 funerals and a wedding. I try to balance that too, you know, to say there are the number of funerals that have taken place over a period of this time, but also at the same time, there are weddings that are taking place as well. So this is part of our history, and it's happening. And it's contemporary, I think. It's now, it's the moment. Yeah. I have a lot and lots and lots. And once again, I'd like to thank all my professors who are present tonight. Thank you so much for your guidance. And honestly, I would not have done it better if I did not learn a thing or two from you. I really, really appreciate. Katie, you'll always be that special woman in my life. Thank you so much. Thanks to your husband for having you. Siyabonga. And Pumzile and your family, Leledi, Prabha, Ajay, Dee, guys, you mean so much to me. You really, really mean so much to me. Yeah. I learn a lot from you. I learn a lot. Dee became that source. You know, there was a time when I couldn't even pronounce a word. The way I was so confused and frustrated. But she guided me. But most of all, if you are displaced or feel confused and somebody opens up her home for you, that's more than enough. And that's the support. When we talk about activism, it's beyond just the placard. Ding, ngiyabonga, kakhulu. Michelle, Complex, Lali, Abdi, guys, you made this space possible. And I'm really, really, really grateful. Yeah. Joanne, you'll always be there. I can't change that it's locked now. Yeah. Sophie, please keep on doing what you do best. We need a lot of curators like you. And we will obviously force you and frustrate you to change these spaces because, again, there are very, very few female curators. To the Ryerson Image Centre team, Erin, one of the youngest one, that picked me up the other day. I was like wondering, are these guys serious? How can they send a young person to deal with my business? Yeah. Erin, thank you so much. Gail, Valerie. Yeah, I like Val because she reminds me of my girlfriend who's not here. Anyways, guys, it's been good. I'm trying. I can't say I know everything. I am trying to be a good South African citizen. I want to say I have done something when I sensed invisibility and I acted. I don't want to blame anybody. If I don't see me in any magazine cover, I will create that image. So I won't complain anymore. I'm doing it. Figile, Magaza, Ngiyabonga. To all of you for your time, for your ears, for the time you spent here. Surely you have other better things to do, but you came out. In Zulu, we say Ngiyabonga, which means thank you. In French, merci. Good evening. There's Ryerson. I'm told that this is not enough, but there's something written here. I'm on page 20 and 21, so you get some more info. Thank you.